the Dalai Lama lineage, from the first monk to a symbol of compassion. On the roof of the world, where the wind sweeps through lungta prayer flags as if carrying the aspirations of millions, there is a name that has become a symbol, the Dalai Lama. When people think of Tibet, they picture the white and red Potala Palace on the hilltop, the yellow-robed monks, the sound of long horns echoing through the cold air, and a gentle old man with a warm smile, speaking simple words about compassion. That is the familiar image, but behind it lies a spiritual lineage more than 600 years old. Dalai in Mongolian means ocean. Lama means spiritual teacher. Dalai Lama, the teacher whose wisdom is as vast as the ocean. Tibetans believe the Dalai Lama is the continuous reincarnation of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. When one Dalai Lama passes away, that stream of consciousness takes on a new human form to continue guiding beings like an ocean wearing different waves, yet always the same water. In 1391, in the Tong region of Tibet, a child was born into a poor nomadic family. They named him Pema Dorje. His life looked nothing like a legend. He wasn't born on a lotus, no omens appeared in the sky. There was only the wind, the grasslands, the herds of animals, and a sky so high it felt within reach. But inside him, there was a calling, something difficult to describe, as if something beyond the cattle fields, beyond the cold mornings and the nights under a canvas tent, was quietly calling his name. Pema Dorje left home, ordained as a monk, and entered the path of study and practice. At that time, one great star shone in the Buddhist sky of Tibet, Tsongkhapa, the renowned scholar who later founded the Gelug school. Pema Dorje became one of his most exceptional students, known for his diligence and wisdom. Later, the nomadic boy would become known by a new name, Gendun Drub. He was not only a student, but also an heir to part of Tsongkhapa's legacy. He became the first abbot of Gendun Monastery, and later founded Tashi Lumpo Monastery in Shigatse, which later became the seat of the Panchen Lama lineage. During his lifetime, no one called Gendun Drub the Dalai Lama. He was simply a remarkable monk, respected for his virtue and scholarship. Only centuries later, when the title Dalai Lama was created, did people look back and say, that was the first incarnation of the lineage, like a seed planted long before anyone names the entire garden. Time passed. The second incarnation, Gendun Gyatso, was born, practiced, taught, and carried the flame forward. Yet still, no one used the title Dalai Lama. That title appeared only with the third incarnation, Sonam Gyatso. Sonam Gyatso was born near Lhasa, and from an early age was recognized as the reincarnation of Gendun Gyatso. He grew into a renowned teacher of the Gelug school, teaching countless students, establishing monasteries, and spreading the Dharma across the region. Meanwhile, in the north, the Mongolian steppe was undergoing great change. Altan Khan, a powerful Mongol leader, was searching for a spiritual force strong enough to stabilize his people and unite the tribes long accustomed to war. He heard of a Tibetan Lama known for profound compassion and wisdom. He sent an invitation. The meeting between Sonam Gyatso and Altan Khan wrote an extraordinary chapter in history. Sonam Gyatso taught Altan Khan the Dharma, not just philosophical doctrine, but a path for transforming aggression and violence into discipline and reverence. Mongolia began adopting Buddhism on a far wider scale. To honor him, Altan Khan bestowed a title, Dalai Lama, Ocean of Wisdom, a name carrying the sound of wind across the steppe, yet rooted in the heart of Tibet. From that moment, earlier incarnations were retrospectively titled. Gendun Drub became the first Dalai Lama, Gendun Gyatso the second, and Sonam Gyatso the third. A clear lineage took shape from this point onward. And from here, the Dalai Lama was no longer merely a teacher secluded in a monastery, but gradually became a bridge between nations, between political power and the spiritual path. In the 17th century, another name emerged, Ngawang Lobsang Gyatso, later known as the Great Fifth, the fifth Dalai Lama. He was born during a time when Tibet was fragmented, torn by competing forces, wars, and struggles for power. But Ngawang Lobsang Gyatso was not only a scholar or meditation master. He was the figure who led Tibet into a new era, uniting much of the region, establishing the Gendun Phadrang government, and making Lhasa the central seat of authority. From then on, the Dalai Lama became not only a spiritual leader, but also the political head of Tibet. He ordered the construction of the Potala Palace on Red Hill, a monumental structure rising as if carved from the mountain itself, white and red like clouds and blood, the embodiment of a dream. Potala was not merely a residence. It was a symbol of the connection between heaven and earth, meditation and action, one individual and an entire nation. From the Great Fifth onward, the image of the Dalai Lama became inseparable from the destiny of the land of snow. Each incarnation had a story of their own, but all carried the same purpose: to keep the spiritual flame of Tibet from being extinguished. However, history never moves in a straight upward line. From the 6th to the 12th Dalai Lama, several passed away very young, before they could assume real authority. During those times, power often fell into the hands of regents, aristocrats, or foreign influences. There were periods when the Dalai Lama existed almost purely as a spiritual symbol, while the political stage was controlled by others. But the lineage of reincarnation continued. Each time a Dalai Lama passed away, the Lamas began the journey of searching for a new child. They meditated, prayed, sought guidance from protective deities, and watched for subtle signs in nature and in dreams. Then they traveled from village to village, looking for a child with a familiar gaze, an unusual reaction to sacred chants, or one who would unconsciously say things that startled adults. When they identified a candidate, they presented the child with objects that had belonged to the previous Dalai Lama, mixed with identical replicas. If the child repeatedly chose the correct ones, the old mala, the old staff, the old drum, they considered it a powerful sign. To them, this was not a game of luck, but a way for a stream of consciousness to recognize itself. Whether one believes it or not, the mere fact that a culture dares to see a cattle boy, a farmer's son, or an ordinary child as the reincarnation of a bodhisattva is something worth contemplating. Through many such lifetimes, the lineage reached a pivotal turning point. Tenzin Gyatso, the 13th Dalai Lama, the Great 13th. Tenzin Gyatso was born in 1876. As he grew up, the world was entering an age of rifles, warships, and empires redrawing global maps. Tibet, isolated behind the Himalayas, could no longer remain untouched. The Great 13th did not only chant sutras or meditate. He foresaw the danger if Tibet continued to close itself off and remained weak in military, education, and governance. He began reforms, modernizing the army, restructuring administration, expanding education, sending Tibetans abroad to study, and inviting foreign specialists to assist. For a society shaped by a religious feudal structure, these reforms were both necessary and shocking. He faced resistance, yet persisted. Tenzin Gyatso worked tirelessly to preserve a space of independence for Tibet amid rising global powers. Before his passing, he left prophetic warnings about the future, about the dangers that would come if Tibetans failed to remain united and prepare for the upheavals ahead. A few years after his death, the Lamas once again began the search for his reincarnation. This time, they crossed remote mountains and reached a small village in Amdo, northeastern Tibet, where the wind swept over earthen roofs and children played among the dry grass, unaware that they stood on the threshold of history. In a poor home lived a boy named Lamo Dondup. Born in 1935, he was the son of farmers, with nothing outwardly special about him. But when the Lamas arrived and placed before him the objects of the 13th Dalai Lama mixed with identical items, the boy chose correctly, again and again. Not only choosing, but naming them with a sense of intimate familiarity that no one could explain. To the Lamas, this was no coincidence. They believed they had found the new incarnation of the Dalai Lama lineage. Hamo Dondup was taken to Lhasa and formally recognized as the 14th Dalai Lama, receiving the monastic name Tenzin Gyatso. From a village boy, he stepped into a world of rituals, scholarship, and responsibility. Instead of playing with friends on the grasslands, he studied Buddhist philosophy, logic, meditation, culture, and diplomacy. Instead of thinking of himself as the son of a farmer, he was taught that he was the reincarnation of a bodhisattva whose lineage stretched across centuries. He had barely grown up when an immense burden was placed on his shoulders. At the age of 15, amid political tension, he was forced to assume temporal leadership, becoming the head of all Tibet during one of the most turbulent times in its history. a teenager standing before decisions that would make even the most seasoned adults tremble. In 1959, a storm of history erupted. He left Lhasa, crossed mountain passes, journeyed over the Himalayas into India, a perilous escape made to prevent further bloodshed. Since then, he has lived in Dharamsala, a small town in India, together with the Tibetan exile community. Looking at that, some might think the Dalai Lama has lost his country, has grown old, has been pushed beyond the borders of his homeland. But from that very place of exile, the image of the Dalai Lama spread across the world. Tenzin Gyatso did not speak only to Tibetans. He spoke to scientists about meditation and the brain. He spoke to world leaders about compassion and dialogue. He spoke to the youth about genuine happiness. He spoke to other religions about coexistence rooted in respect. In 1989, he received the Nobel Peace Prize for his nonviolent approach, for his advocacy of human rights and religious freedom, and for his unwavering commitment to preserving Tibetan culture without ever calling for violence. He often introduces himself with gentle humility. "I am just a simple Buddhist monk," but behind that sentence lies a 14-generation lineage, the soul of a people and the dream of millions longing for a softer world. Today, even in old age, he still smiles sweetly, still enjoys joking, still holds people's hands, still pats children on the head. Yet questions about the future of the Dalai Lama lineage have never faded. There was a time when he said that his life might be the last in the lineage, that if the tradition no longer served the needs of a new era, there was no obligation to continue it. But he has also affirmed many times that if the Tibetan people still need the Dalai Lama, the lineage will continue, and that the next reincarnation will be sought outside territories under political control to preserve the freedom of this spiritual tradition. When looking across the entire Dalai Lama lineage, what stands out is not miraculous stories, but the endurance of a vow to keep compassion alive in a world that constantly changes. From the nomadic boy Pema Dorje to the exiled monk Tenzin Gyatso, each Dalai Lama has faced a different era, a different kind of upheaval. Yet, through every circumstance, they share a single commitment: to use wisdom as a lamp and compassion as a balm for the world. For this reason, the lineage is not merely Tibetan history. It is proof that an inner value, when lived fully, can survive across centuries without losing its strength. Today, even though the future of the Dalai Lama lineage remains uncertain, one truth is clear. It is the spirit of compassion practiced and embodied by this lineage that will endure. For compassion needs no throne, no border, no title. It only needs a person willing to receive it and carry it forward. And if that happens, then whether or not there is a 15th Dalai Lama, the lineage will continue, not in a single new body, but in the way human beings choose to treat one another.